Now Lux tackles the thorny and often divisive issue of gamer addiction.
Everyone's an addict.
If you're a non-gamer, you'd probably be mistaken for thinking that two issues dominate the gaming world: acts of violence inspired by video games and people becoming addicted to games at the expense of their real lives.
When we look at somebody who's really dedicated to playing sport or studying hard for the HSC or maybe playing a musical instrument, we're considering that behaviour to be pretty normal. But when we look at dedicated gamers, society hasn't yet caught up to that being perhaps unnormal behaviour. They're seeing that as still somebody avoiding social issues or other types of responsibilities, when really it's just another hobby.
I'm here today with Damien and Paul, who are from the games industry, and Daniel, who's just completed his thesis in video games and social skills. Guys, given your background, do you think gaming addiction actually exists?
Yes, absolutely, unequivocally it exists. I've seen it in my workplace, I've seen it in my students. We acknowledge it as a problem, and we also acknowledge that it's part of our business that we create addictive structures.
What you're talking about is fundamental behavioural problems where a game becomes overwhelming, and I think you have to be clear that that's what you mean when you say gaming addiction, not the fact that people enjoy it and people want to play something, but the fact that people have an uncontrollable urge. So when you look at it in those terms, I think that gaming addiction absolutely does exist.
Games involve moral and ethical decision-making, strategic thinking, reasoning, leadership, persistence, and time management. These are all skills which most game players would find as benefit in their everyday lives. So where does it go wrong for the gamer who sees themselves as addicted?
When we look at why people come to clinics for games addiction, we're probably actually looking at other reasons of why they come there. It's really based on people being unhappy or something going wrong in their lives that they can't control, and they want a means of escape. And the games to them seems to be the answer.
For some game companies, it's in their best interest to have someone keep coming back.
Where's the responsibility, though? Is it the responsibility of a company? A company's responsibility is to make money. It's a very difficult, complicated question, and I think the only real answer is to come down to personal responsibility. If you think you're going to be addicted to a game, then do your best not to play it. But I think that the mechanics of video games, because they're about risk and reward and choice and control, do attract a certain type of personality and I think some companies can exploit that.
So what do you think about that sort of argument?
There's been a lot of research done on video game addiction and whether the problems associated with gameplay meet the criteria for an addiction. And not very much negative consequences have been unearthed. I know people who are addicted to fishing, you could say, if you're using the colloquial layperson definition of addiction. Whereas at the moment, addictions as a mental illness carry very significant consequences. People mortgage their house and destroy the security of their family and their future. Like people die of alcoholism and drug addiction. So is playing video games until 5 in the morning, resulting in the same negative consequences enough to define a mental illness on it?
It's really just my sense that there's something there. There's something there that isn't there in other mediums. There's something there that isn't there in alcoholism and gambling and things like that connects with people differently and gives them something that they haven't had before. And I think that's where the real danger is.
Well, it doesn't seem like this argument's going to be solved anytime soon, but if you do feel your gameplay is getting a little out of control, here's some tips which you might find helpful. Take an MMO holiday. Give yourself a break and let your subscription expire for a while, especially around exams or a high-stress time at work. Mix up your gameplay. Ever thought of going back to basics and giving Tetris another crack? Put some time limits around your play and try sticking with them. If you're using games to escape stuff, you might need to face up to those difficulties and get the support you need. Remember, games are about fun, so let's keep it in perspective.
John, do you think you've ever crossed that line and played a game just a little bit too much?
Well, you know me, man, I just like to win, and some games reward you for playing more rather than playing better.
We're keen to hear your thoughts. Do you think you can actually become addicted to a game?
Have you ever rearranged your real life to suit your gaming life? How do you time manage your gaming?
Drop by the forums and leave us your post.